Hi, welcome to Creativity Talks with me, Hazriq Idrus, founder of the Speaking Factory, keynote speaker for creative leadership and communications. People have this misconception that creativity is only meant for the arts. So in these Creativity Talks, we are going to explore how creativity can be applied in many areas such as business, career, and life, and how creativity can help us to be better versions of ourselves. To do this, there will be invited guests who could be everyday people or experts who will share with us their journey and discuss topics such as personal development, personal branding, book publishing, mindset, creative process, and many, many more. I thank you for joining me in this journey where creativity and personal growth collide. Enjoy the episode. Hi, and welcome back for another episode of Creativity Talks with me, Hazriq Idrus. And today I will join by another guest. And this time, she's actually an award-winning author, a freelance editorial consultant and translator. She has also she has authored 5 children's books, and 3 of them were inspired by her cat. So later we're going to ask her about her cats as well. And she has actually won prizes for short stories, poetry, and translation. And this episode, our guest will share on the topics on creative writing and self-publishing. So without much further ado, let's call upon our guest for today, Nurelhudaa Jaffar. Hello, hi, welcome on board. How are you?
Hello. Good. I'm fine. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me in this session, in this our creativity talks. I think we are having our 18th episode already. Thank you for accepting my invitation.
Congratulations.
Yeah, welcome. All right. So yeah, this session very much, creativity talks is very much to share our creative insights. It could be process, could be creative behind the scenes thinking whatsoever, right? So today, I want to get to tap on your experience, tap on insights. Right? But before that, right, probably what you can do, you want to get to know a little bit about yourself, all right? Because you are, to me, an established author, established writer. You have won a lot of awards, all right? So maybe you can share with us some of your journey. Because I remember, I think one of your award that you won before was 2017. You won yourself first and second prize for the Golden Point Award, if I'm not wrong, that point of time.
Yes.
Yeah. That was you won 2 prizes in one sitting. I thought that's very amazing. And that time we had two short stories. I think one was the Balada Kasih, Romeo and Juliet, right? Then the other one was Biarkan Dia Renang, or Let Her Swim. The first one was the Love Ballad of Romeo and Juliet. Second was Let Her Swim. Yeah, and firstly, I'm very honored to get to know you and to work with you on several projects along the way. So maybe you can share with this journey, how did you start and what makes you do what you do?
Oh, okay. I'm an editorial consultant and translator, freelancing. So I guess you're referring to both my journey in the publishing industry and as well as my journey as a writer.
Yes.
Yeah, and it so happens that my entry and subsequent involvement in the publishing industry leads me into my journey as a writer. So let me bring back to 1992. That was
wow,
the year
1992. Wow.
I just graduated from NUS, and that's the time when you start looking for a job and you don't know what you're supposed to do. I got a temporary position as an editorial assistant at this company called Bookworm Publishing. I'm not sure whether you remember the book, the series of books.
Bookworm Publishing.
Bookworm.
Wow, yes. Those were the days when I was in it.
Right.
Yeah, the bookworm, the worm itself, right? Yeah, I thought, you were there. Yes, that's the one. I was reading a lot of that books, man. Oh, so you were in the editorial team. Wow.
I worked in the editorial and art department, and I was the lowest worm in the department. So basically, as an editorial assistant, you assist the people in the editorial department. You assist the people in the art department. So I had zero knowledge of the publishing industry. So I learned quite a bit from them, from my seniors in the department, because with the okay.
Okay. This one is post National Day flight.
Yeah. Okay.
So by the way, since you're talking about how was our National Day? Since we hear the flight post National Day, how was our National Day celebration?
It's very quiet. See, except for this.
This I've been going around most of the time, yeah. Slightly different this time round, from the previous years of National Day celebration, yeah. All right. Okay, let's just continue your bookworm. I love to hear your bookworm.
The excitement. Okay. My bookworm adventures. Like things, writing from the editor, things like that. And so it was, except for the marketing and the planning, but the interest is there because the interest was piqued. I became interested in see how a book was. The writer sits down, they trash out ideas, and then they start typing. And then I do the layout. It was like really on the job training, learning PageMaker, right?
PageMaker, wow.
And then after that, with the illustration, PageMaker. And then after that, from the artists, I saw them how they drew the different styles. There's watercolor, and then there's digital art, things like that. And then I left the company for a permanent job, and it so happens that the job that I took up after Bookworm involved things like producing brochures, reports, publication, things involved with writing and producing publications. So that particular aspect is still there in my work. And then it's only in 2007 that I joined a publishing house full time, and it so happened that the managing director decided to revive the publishing of children's books, because they used to do that. They used to do that in up to 80s, from the 60s to 80s, then they stopped. And then they decided to revive children's book, because one of the things is that there's a realization that Malay children are not reading enough in Malay language.
I see.
Yeah. And the books that were available for Malay children in Singapore were very much imported from overseas. So in terms of settings and the stories, it's very much outside and not local based. So that's why the director wanted to bring that wanted to revive the publication of books in Malay for children with local settings, and that fit into their own experiences. Right. So because I was the publishing executive there, and I felt that I needed to know more about the publication of children's books. So I set in seminars and workshops, and it so happened that the National Book Development Council had already started the Asian Festival of Children's Contents, and before that, they had some workshops encouraging the production or the publication of children's books, illustrated children's books. So I sent in, and then there was an open call for stories. So I submitted, and then it was accepted, and then so in 2014, my very first children's book was published by the National Book Council under the Asian Festival of Children's Content.
Wow.
So that's how my journey so I started as a writer of children's stories, children's books, and then I decided, okay, let's try something else, write short stories. But then I thought, who's going to read it? Just write. And then Bita Harian had this competition, right? Mencari Kristal for short story.
Yes.
So I said, okay, yeah. So I said, okay lah.
That was in what, 2016? That was 2016, right?
2016,
yep.
Yeah. So I got accepted. I got into the finals, and then with the other after mixing around with the participants, like you, like yourself, and a few others, I thought, okay, I built up my confidence. So I said, okay, just send to Bita Haryana. And then I sent my first short story to the Malay newspaper, and it got published. And then and then after that, I decided, okay, there's something there. I got good feedback for my story, so that's right. And then there's a competition, Golden Pen Award, Golden Point Award. So okay, submit the story and see, I mean, if it's not good, then only the jury would see it, right?
True.
If it's good, then okay, yeah. So that's my journey lah,
Wow.
And then I started to write a few more stories and things like that. And I tried poetry, and it's always it's always spurred by friends, by the network of writers, and I say like, hey, we have this, why don't you join in? Let's go, let's just join in, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Nice. So that means you started out as editor during the bookworm. They had the bookworm club back then, right? So I think I was part of that bookworm club back in primary school days. Yeah, that's how I got to know about the bookworm thing. So you mentioned about bookworm. It's like, wow, that brought back memories, man. I got I don't know how many books of bookworm book that time publication that I had. Yeah. From there, so from bookworm you moved to short stories. Oh yeah. Yeah, so basically you started with the bookworm, and then you moved into the writing. Short stories came later, so much later, I suppose, based on your sharing earlier on. Then
it's much later. About two years after my first student story.
Wow.
And poetry also came later. So but I was never an editor at bookworm. I was the editorial assistant.
Okay. So that's where you start your learning basis on editorial and stuff, right? Okay, thank you for sharing that kind of thing. All right. So we're going to go deeper on this different aspects of writing and editorial publishing maybe along the way. But before that, let's bring back to the topic. Today, as you know, that this session is about the what they call creativity talks, and creativity talks is looking at how we can apply creativity and different aspects of life. And actually, there's a study by in the university in US state that creativity can be applied in at least 7 different domains. So to start this, maybe if I could ask you this question, what is creativity to you? What is creativity to you?
Sorry, can you? Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, let me just repeat the question again. So, what is creativity to you?
Okay. Creativity is being able to create something new. Something, and something that is well, hopefully, preferably original. It is the thing, the developing new ideas, making something new, or think of something new, and then and these things, these ideas, these things, this creation, right, is built upon what I already know. I've done, I've experienced, and what I've learned, and imagination is also involved in the whole creative process. Yeah.
Okay.
And to me, creativity can be manifested, can be expressed in various ways. It can be manifested in different spheres or domains. You have music, it expressed in mathematics, science, in visual arts, in forms of words that you read, in the forms of word that you hear, um, and then things that you see, words that you read, and even cooking. There is creativity involved in cooking. Yeah.
Yep.
And creativity is something that can be nurtured, right? Which means that environment plays a very good plays an important role in nurturing creativity. Whether it's in a school environment or even in the room that I use, the room that I am here, how it's conducive to it can stimulate my mind into producing something. And another aspect of the importance of an environment that nurtures creativity is an environment that values creativity, an environment that values differences, that appreciates how a new idea is expressed, um, and there is also some, and therefore it involves some form of risk taking. The whole creative process can be very daunting, but it can give that person immense satisfaction. It can be, and the satisfaction can just be for me, right? Because I create something out of my own hands, out of something I dream of, I thought of, right? I have a story, and um, I'm the only one who receives, but it's okay. I'm satisfied with it. But maybe somebody else or might like it, um, and um, and and I really enjoy the creative process, whether it's just uh, my personal work, um, or whether it involves a collaborative effort.
Okay, let's touch on
And
since you mentioned about the creative process, right?
consultant, I'm
Let
in publishing.
let's go into detail of the creative process. You have written, you have authored few books, children books. If you can share with us, what is your creative process? How you came up your idea of creating that book from scratch? You just share with us. So step one, step two, the whole process. I would love to hear. All right. Okay, it seems that there's some lagging over here, and Nurel is suddenly go out of the system. So probably we'll be waiting. Hopefully we can bring her back in so that she can continue the sharing. So in the meantime, if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do so at the Guest Tab YouTube channel, and then look for Creativity Talks, or you go to Hazriq TV, and then we'll hopefully subscribe to this session itself. All right. Okay. So in the meantime, we'll wait a while for Nurel to come back, and then we continue the interview. All right. All right. Okay, once again, for those viewers out there, if you notice earlier on there's some lagging, so now we're going to resume our session over here, and I think our guest is now back as well. I'm not sure why, but we'll just go straight into the session again. All right. So without much further ado, let's invite back our guest for today, Nurelhudaa. Hey, hi.
Hi. Yeah,
Nice to
shifted.
see you again.
Yeah, I
Oh, I
changed
see. I
location.
see. Ah,
Yeah.
okay, nice. This is,
Yeah.
I think it's slightly better now. Can see a bit
Okay.
more fresher. All right. Okay,
Okay.
so let's continue. Let's continue our sharing just now.
Oh,
Earlier on we talked about the creative process. Maybe you can
yeah.
share with us, with the audience, how you actually started or work on your creative process. How you started your book from scratch and how it came to the end. You just share with us how the process looks like.
Okay. I think let me share the book. My first book is Where Is My Home? It's
Mm.
about a kitten that got lost, right? And it was inspired by my cat.
How many
Because
cats you have?
I have two. I have two.
Wow. Okay. And
Yeah.
how old are
So
they? How old are they?
one is I think about 2000. I found her 2013. So what? 7 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
7 years old, and the other one is about 5. Yeah, it's about 5.
Ah,
They don't get along.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
they
how do you manage? How you manage them?
um well, one is the younger one is attached to my husband. The older one is
Oh,
attached to me. Um,
okay.
so they keep to themselves as much as possible. The only time they get together is when they have their meals.
Meals.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, this one
When
like
they eating.
Singaporeans we always come together over meals. So must be a Singaporean cat. Must be Singapore cat.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
first
Share with
one,
us how the your cat inspired you into your story building.
yeah. So the first one, well, she was given to me in a box. She was not well. And then I had to bring her to the vet, and basically the vet asked me to help heal her because she couldn't walk, right?
Mm.
And then I was like thinking, oh, you poor cat, how come you were like, what happened to you? You straight into somebody's house and that kind of thing. So and I just felt that and that I felt that that is a good thing that I was able to provide her with a home. Um,
Mm.
and I was given the opportunity to give a home to this little kitten, or else she'd be out in the wild. And at the same time too, I happened to be reading up stuff about children who were abused. About
Ah.
children who were abused and somehow or and also children who were adopted into families and also foster homes. So somehow it influenced me. Those readings influenced me, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to write a story that also convey not just about a kitten looking for its home, right? But I wanted to convey the idea of what a home means, right?
Mm.
For a child, and in the form of a kitten, that a home,
Mm.
that every child should have a home that is comfortable, and he or she are well, yeah, is well fed, well taken care of, is loved, and I wanted to have the story that in that story, the kitten and the mother live with humans, right?
Mm.
So in a in a way, I wanted to highlight that you can have a wonderful home. People can take care of you, and you may not be the same, right? Which means that
Mm.
you may not be related by blood, right? But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the child is equally loved, that kind of thing.
I
So
see.
but the main story is the kitten that's looking for its home, and at the same time learns about other animals have this kind of home, but it's not for him. It's not for the kitten because she doesn't have wings. So her house is not a nest. So anyway, so I wrote that story, and then I submitted it to book council, and then they came up. They got an illustrator, and I liaised with an editor. The editor asked me questions, and we made some changes to the story, and then the book became a reality. Yeah.
Wow.
So
What's the title of the book?
Where is my home? The Malay
Where
version
is my home?
The Malay version is Di Mana Rumah Saya. Yeah.
So using cat as the subject of the story.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of other
layers.
different layers. A lot of different layers to
different
look at it. Yeah. Wow, that's so wonderful. Wow.
Yeah. So the creative process, it can be sparked by anything, right? And it's always in writing. I'm not sure how it applies in other domains, but for me, it's always the question of what if and why. You know, I give you for example the story that you mentioned, biarkan dia berenang, right? Let her swim.
Yep.
Right. So it actually, the idea of the story actually began in a workshop under Mencari Crystal that we attended.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we were given and this is also a tip that's shared by when you talk about how to spark your creative process. You take the newspaper, you pick up a story, and then you see how you want to develop, right? So our group picked up the story about we talk about the story about at that time France went down hard on women who chose to wear the hijab, right?
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and they banned the wearing of burkinis in the beaches.
I remember that story.
Right. Yeah, so
That news. Remember that news? Yeah.
That piece of news.
Yeah.
So so I got back to thinking of like, why would a woman, right, wear something that would put her into trouble in France, right? And then I thought of and then maybe she wanted to go to the sea. Then why would she want to swim in the open sea? And then what if that woman, maybe because swimming in the open sea has a special significance to her, but what if that woman is actually not a Muslim, right? Why would a non-Muslim woman put on the burkini and swim in the open sea? What is the significance? So so I went further and further. What if, and why? And then I thought of okay, let's have this story about a woman who was involved many years ago in the Serbian-Bosnian conflict, right? And then I decided to, okay, now I have this idea, I better research on that conflict. So I did research a little bit on the research. I went to the library to read a bit more about the experience of the Bosnians during the conflict, and then gradually the story took shape, and then it's always a case of answering question like what if, why, and how. Why would somebody do this? What kind of stuff? So so that's part of my creative process now. How I have this idea and then I develop it. So I have the story, I need to plot it out, and then the end product, which is the short story.
Wow. So using the what if, why, and how, three simple questions that actually give you the direction to get the storyline and the story itself. And how long is that story that you wrote, the let her swim?
Yeah, let's swim. How long is the number of words?
Yeah.
The minimum was 5,000. The maximum was 5,000. I think this is about 4,000 plus.
4,000 plus.
Words.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. But I like the process about the what if, why, and how, because it really delves into the behind the backstory, right? Why this thing happened. And usually I realized that in order to write the story, we need to understand backstory. And then when people write, but somehow when what's on paper, what people read, we don't know the backstory. But somehow we can relate through their dialogues, through their experiences. So, but just want to pick your brain on behind the scene, how you can do each other. What I thought is a wonderful 3-step process of why, what if, and how. Nice. All right, let's look into another angle where I must say that you're already an author. So in terms of challenges when you writing this, what were the challenges that you face and how you actually overcome that?
I think the biggest challenge is actually writing it down, because I'm not sure how it is with other writers, other creators like yourself. Everything's in my head, you know. And it's I picture the whole thing going on in my mind. But it's the writing it down, you know, that I must sit down and then they are telling me, you know, write this story, write my story, for goodness sakes, woman. So they compel me to write in a way. And then another challenge is to make it into a story and not just a narration of events. That is something that is drummed to me through all the workshops that I attended, you know.
Okay.
There has to be a story there. There must be a plot, you know, like you go to the market, then it's just the idea of going to the market, but where is the story there, you know? And so what I and so one way I do is that, because someday it comes in bits and pieces, I have this app called Evernote.
Okay.
Yeah. I have it on my iPad and then also on my Mac. And then Evernote allows me to open up different notebooks, and then in different notebooks I can have different sub notebooks. So so let's say I'm plotting Dia Dia Berenang. One idea is that her experience her experience at the beach. So I type her experience at the beach. And then maybe some other stuff that is not immediately connected to that scene, but I just write it down. So everything is parked in different sections, and then after that, I can join them all up into one main file, into one main doc. So that helps. And then another, because I'm not that I'm easily distracted. Maybe you can see that I'm easily distracted. On my iPad is very handy to me. So I have a sketch app on it. So because when I think of picture books, I will sketch things out. So it's like doing storyboard, you know. So if sometimes it helps for me to express the words, because sometimes it's just the image, you know, like I like a cat in a bathtub and looking very upset, right? So I draw that first, and then I think of the words on how, you know, the expression, and then I build on that. Why is this cat upset? And then I create that story, that kind of stuff. So there are many ways you can consider on writing, and then it's the whole. I think one challenge is capturing the idea. Right. I think part of creativity is you need to capture your thoughts, right? Your ideas, right?
True. To journal it down.
So whatever fits you, then write it down. I know that there are people who say that the moment you wake up, that's the best time to imagine stuff, right? Or you dream of something, you wake up and then you write it down, right? But it never happened to me. I wake up, what is this?
Nothing happens. When you wake up, nothing happens.
I forget. You forget. You forget what is it, you know? That kind of stuff. So it works with other people, but sometimes it doesn't work for me.
True.
Maybe
I resonate that because sometimes when I have an idea, right, when I start to write in the evening, and then I think I must keep it right, and then I will switch off the computer. Next morning, right, I feel a few instances where I got ideas, I didn't write it down. The next day, the thing all gone. It's like, hey, where was the idea? Yeah, so I thought journaling down is very, very important, and I like the process where you have your Evernote. I didn't think of it of using Evernote. of the different. I like it when you share. You have a different. Even the story got whatever you see, it got nothing to do yet. You still write it down, and then later you put things together. I thought that's a wonderful advice. Yeah, that I can work also, and for the audience maybe benefit as well. With the
Yeah.
audience, yeah. So if
Yeah,
you could,
I remember, Puan Rohanidin. Rohanidin, she mentioned something that if you write a scene and then somehow it didn't work in the whole story, right? You can take it out of the book, you take it out of the manuscript, but don't throw it away. You still keep that scene because you can still use it for other stories, right? So
Exactly.
I think for creators, for writers, right? Don't dismiss if one idea is not doesn't working for you. Just take it out, park it somewhere. Don't sweat
Nice.
over it so much, right? Move to another work, or move to another story, or do something else that still involves some amount of creative thinking. So I believe in this thing called the creative unconscious. I don't know whether it's the right term or not. The creative unconscious, where you do something, but then in the back of your mind is working on that particular story, on that particular idea, building it up. I'm not sure whether it's a proper term for it or not, but I just call it my
Wow.
creative unconscious.
Oh,
Yeah.
creative unconscious. Wow. So it's the back when you work on something,
Oh, is it
the back the
yeah.
mind will process on its own, right? Let it be and let
Yeah,
it be
yeah.
there
And
and
then
then just
suddenly,
work on its own.
in the middle of doing something, oh my god, this is what it is. I'm supposed to do it this way. Then you start to scramble for where's my iPad? Where's the paper? And then you write it down.
That's true. All right. Maybe you can share with us. After putting this is some of the work that you're doing, the creative process. Like, if you can share with us,
Yeah.
right? In a day of life of an author, what's your
Oh.
usual day like? Yeah.
It's very boring.
Boring.
It's nothing eventful. I wake up about 4:30 in the morning. And then I do stuff, and I make sure that in any typical day, I will endeavor to read something before my work day starts.
Okay.
Preferably something, usually it's non-fiction, right? So right now I'm in the middle of this publication called translating children's literature. So it sort of feeds my mind with information, and the know-how and tips, right? And then I do my work for my clients, and then I do try to find time for my creative writing. But I'm not as disciplined as I should be. Not as regular as I should be. I know. I know. I've heard of writers who make sure that they write 100 words per day, to maintain. And I think it's very good because what I find is like I said, I build everything in my mind, and then when the time comes there, you need to write it down because my mind is just too crowded with the whole thing. And I would spend because I'm freelancing, I have the luxury of setting aside my own schedule. So I would set aside 2-3 days just for me to get the story done, right? So, and it's like all out, morning to evening, do that creative stuff, and then after that it's done, and then I burn out, right?
Wow.
So
By noon you
yeah,
burn out already,
yeah.
huh?
But no, by the third day I will like
By
burn
the
out.
third day, okay.
By the third day, if by noon I burn out, then nothing can happen. So,
So when you are during the burnout stage, how do you recoup back? How do you like get back the energy? How do you recharge?
How I recharge? I read other stuff. I go back to stuff that I enjoy reading. I read, I watch television
Oh,
and like with my
okay.
cats, and
Yeah, the cats.
then I go back to work. Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
so that's how
yeah.
it recharge.
The
Wow,
cats. Yeah,
wonderful, wonderful. All right.
yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
we have really hear from you on how your creative process and then your daily in as an author. What sort of like?
Yeah.
Let's move into another towards the end. Okay, we also reached the end of our program. So let's just go into some short area
Yeah.
on publication, on publishing, because you were in the editorial. You were
Yeah.
working with the bookworm clubs, right? The bookworm publishing, and then you also currently
Mm.
freelance editorial
Yeah.
consultant. So if you could share with us,
Yeah.
authors they really want to get their book out, but sometimes not easy. And having been in the industry, perhaps you could share with us what are the different methods of getting the book out to get the books published.
Okay. Well, the standard stages of publishing is that a writer produces a manuscript, sends to a publisher, the publisher assesses it, then the publisher engages the editor to look into, first of all, the publisher would get an editor to read the manuscript and see whether it fits into the publisher's publication range, right? And then they will look at the market that the publisher services, and then see whether the manuscript fits at all and whether changes need to be made. And then after that, the publisher signs a contract with the writer, and then then comes the whole collaborative process. The editor edits the book, and then the editor edits the book. Then the designer comes in and sees, okay, what can we do for the cover? What can we do for the interior design? And then the marketing. I think even for big publishing houses, the marketing comes in as well, in the decision whether this book can be published, can be taken up for publishing, right? For to be can be taken as a publication, right? So and then after the whole thing is done, the proof, the editing, the layout, the proofreading, and then you send for printing. Then comes the marketing and the promotion, and then the distribution. Right. So that's the standard stage of publishing. So when a writer sends a manuscript to a publisher, the book may not be taken up for many reasons. Like I said, it does not fit the publisher's range of publication, right? The publisher's philosophy. So the writer has to go through other publishers. And right now you have different formats of publishing. You have the printed book, you have the ebook, you have the audiobook. So a writer now actually has many options to get the book published. He can go to the publisher, or the writer can choose to self-publish, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and in whatever format that they want. Yeah.
All right. Since you bring on the top on self-publishing, we have seen some authors, some writers that actually self-publish their book. And why do you think they actually self-publish their book? And is it a advisable way to do?
There are many reasons why a writer might want to consider self-publishing. Like I said, if you write one thing is you write a story. What is the story for? Who is your target reader? And if you feel that a publisher is not going to take it up for whatever reason, if you feel so strongly about it, right, then you may want to consider self-publishing. But there are also other considerations that you have to take. When a writer chooses to self-publish, that means the writer is taking over the roles that I've mentioned earlier, the editor, the designer, the proofreader, the marketer, right? So those are the considerations of doing, getting your book you want to publish on your own. And there are, a writer must do due diligence in terms of research and finding out what is required. Of course, I would advise that if the writer is really, because basically when you do self-publish, that means you are funding everything yourself, right?
Yep.
You have to get funds, your own funds, right? And of course, if you do not want to print, then there is the option of ebook publishing, because you definitely save costs on publishing, right? But the same consideration also you have to look into, like what format. If you go into e-publishing, what format are you looking for? Is it the free flow type, or you're doing PDF, right? Do you need to have digital rights management for your ebook to make sure that people don't pirate your book easily? That
True.
is also the
True.
research that you must do. And and I think one area, aside from ensuring the integrity of your work, that's one thing that you need an editor, and also to ensure that what the things that you write really reaches the target market, the target reader, right? Because if I want to write a book for teenagers, I must ensure that my story is going to be well received by teenagers. An editor will help, or beta readers will help. Say, hey, no, you're writing this from the point of view of an adult and for adult readers. You need to adjust it. Things like that.
Adjust it.
Design is also a consideration for writers who wish to self-publish. There's something as Saul Best says, that design is thinking made visual.
Wow.
Right. And and if you look at the interior of a book, or even the outside, there's a lot of thought put inside in how the text is laid out, how much white space is given in the margin, is the cover textured, what is presented on the cover, things like that. So there are things that at one glance you think, I can just take a photo from free photo stock kind of thing, and just plonk it there and put a text kind of thing. But there are a lot of considerations that you have to take, whether that photo really fits the story that you put, really fits the target reader, the font is readable, and if you're look at it as an ebook, will it catch the person's attention if you're looking at the website, like on Amazon. Sometimes if you look at the ebook stores, they will have book cover all over, right?
Yeah.
So you have to look. Just as you want to make sure that your book stands out on the bookshelf, same thing also, your book cover should stand out on the online bookshelf. Yeah.
Wow. So there's a lot of consideration it's really taking over the role of the publishing company. Yeah. So I learned this from one of another publisher. He mentioned something like, as a writer, we focus just writing. Publisher is the business of it. So writing is an art is writing, and then publishing is a business. Two different aspects, which means as a writer, if you want to self-publish, you need to differentiate your role as a writer first, and then as a publisher later, or different stages. Wow, that's a wonderful sharing by you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe if you could, maybe last two questions. Number one, would you really advise, especially the upcoming aspiring authors, for them to consider self-publishing? Would you advise for them to do that?
If they are willing to take the risk, if they are willing to take up the roles, right? If they see there is the opportunity there, especially if the subject they write in is a niche subject, right? And there is that there are people who want to read that particular on that particular topic, right? And your readers are the ones who would read an ebook, right? Or there are readers who are ready to buy your books. So, for example, if you're a trainer, right, then you can self-publish your book and tie it together with your event, right, with your program, and then you have better control over it, right?
True.
So So there are various factors involved, and if anybody is willing to take up the challenge and seize the opportunity, then why not? Yeah. After having
Nice,
considered
wonderful.
the various aspects of publishing, right?
True.
And it's not a case of you doing everything. It's a matter of that you need to engage with the right person. Because you may want to have illustration, you may want to have but if you pass it to someone to lay out my book, but that person does not have any background on what is required in laying out, because there are rules in typesetting, right? There are conventions in typesetting, but if that person does not know about this and just take it as an ordinary document being put together, right? When it's printed out, the look of the book may not fit into what is considered as industry standards, right? So I'm talking about printed book here. And same thing also, the other consideration to take. Yeah.
I see. Wow, wonderful, wonderful. Wow, it's such a very good sharing from you. We have covered the creative process. We look into your behind this, your thinking process on how you came up with your ideas. Especially your cats play a big role in your books, and then you also shared some tips on publishing, especially on self-publishing. So one last question from me. If you could advise, especially right now, for us to be more creative, how would you what would you do, or what would you advise for us? What can we do to build our creativity?
To build your creativity, have an inquiring mind, right? Broaden your knowledge. Go to other stuff. For example, consider other creative pursuits, right? If you're a writer, deepen your knowledge on writing, right? And know when to relax. So I think what is important is to have an inquiring mind and be willing to try out new things.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much for that wonderful session. We just realized, without us realizing it, we are speaking for about almost 1 hour, which I thought I believe we have a lot of information that we can extract. So I hope that this session has been very beneficial to the viewers out there. And for those who want to keep in touch with Nurel, it's in the call list down here. You can take a look. You can go to her Facebook page, type Nurelhudaa Jaffar, and then you can send her messages or ask her question pertaining to on writing, on publication, and stuff. All right. So without much further ado, once again, thank you very much, Nurel, for your sharing, and I hope that the session has benefit the audience, and I hope that we'll continue keep in touch. I hopefully in the future episode hope to interview more, to get more insights to touch or tap on your brain as well. So before we end, any last words or closing words to the audience from you?
Keep on creating.
All right, nice. Keep on creating. All right, thank you very much. So we really hope that the session will be beneficial to the audience. And with this, Hazriq Idrus signing off together with Nurelhudaa, and we hope that this session brings you a lot of information to make you a better version of yourself. With that, Hazriq Idrus and Nurelhudaa saying all the best in your creativity journey. Thank you very much. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you find this video useful, do like, comment and share so that more people can benefit from this. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, click on the subscribe button below so that you can receive updates of our upcoming videos. Till then, Hazriq Idrus signing off. See you in the next video.